Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, Sixers, to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. This is episode 127. Today is January 16th, 2023. I'm Bill, and I am joined, as always, by my Viridian co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Welcome.
Hello.
Dynamically Viridian?
Not dynamically.
Oh, okay.
Like this?
No, that would be a step beyond.
This Viridian?
That kind of Viridian, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Now, to our listeners, remember, while tonight's live stream was spoiler-free, I am reading old notes. Dadgummit, I'm doing great. Just remember, the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast at all. Because tonight, we are going to be talking about Brandon's most recent release, formerly known as Secret Project Number 1. If you're avoiding the title as a spoiler, I think it's a little bit too late, but just in case, that's your last warning. Let the waves come in, let the waves crash down. We are talking about Tress of the Emerald Sea.
Bye-bye.
But not and the Emerald Sea.
Not and, no, of.
Yes, let's snip that one right in the bud. This is not going to be a White Sands thing. This is Tress of the Emerald Sea.
Yes.
No Tress on the Emerald Sea. No Tress in the Emerald Sea.
I said
all of these things have bad outcomes.
Briefly.
Now, for our listeners who listen to the podcast recordings or you watch the videos on YouTube after the fact, we do want to remind you, you can actually come and join us live when we record every other Monday night at www.twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table. We record at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So come join us. Be part of the discussion. Let us know what you think. Throw off our discussion as you pop in an idea that is just going to blow our minds, because we want to hear these things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. The show will, of course, continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies. If you pledge $1 or $2 per episode or however much, it really helps us out as we continue to work to improve the show. We try and do better audio quality, try and add in some fun new features, stuff like that. Patrons get immediate access to our Discord channel where you can talk about the show. We've got a lot of awesome people in there. We talk about the show, but we talk about the Cosmere in general as well. We also talk about we have other book channels. We have movies. We talk about video games. We talk about, it's a community. And
Bill posts pictures of food that he makes. Which
I
is
do
delicious.
I do post pictures of food that I make, and
the other thing you get is early access to posts, which we posted one today.
Yes, you do. You get early access to stuff like bonus features and other bonus content. Jordan, tell us about what you posted today.
Well, it'll tie into the Cosmere thing of the week, but
will it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. It was a response to the Cosmere thing of the week, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, we love having you here. We appreciate everything. This week, we want to thank our newest patron, Aldchad. I don't understand the screen name, but hey, we welcome you and are glad to have you in the Discord and as a patron. Mm-hmm. So moving into the Cosmere thing of the week, though.
Cosmere
I'm doing great.
It's a Monday.
It is a Monday. It's always a Monday.
It's a Monday.
So for our Cosmere thing of the week this time, this one is one that probably every single one of you have already seen, but just in case you haven't, Brandon and his team came up with a nice little feature video to launch the Year of Sanderson. It's epic.
So good.
It's ridiculous. It's one of the most Brandon things you could really expect for this type of situation. So
it really is.
Yeah, we're not gonna play it on here, but you should definitely go check it out. It's on Brandon's channel. It's just I think it's titled "The Year of Sanderson."
Year of Sanderson is now.
Or starts now. That's right.
Yeah, no. So I didn't pick up on it when I first watched it, but someone in the comments said, "Oh, this is clearly a play off Captain America in the punching bag in Avengers." And when he
Yep.
said that, I was like, "Oh, that's probably right." And so I decided to do a side by side comparison and saw that it was indeed exactly that scene down
Shot
to
for
his
shot.
flashbacks. The color palette is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
They do an amazing job with it. It just goes to show that I know Brandon last year was trying to hire a new video editor, but they clearly got a good one now.
So
Well,
actually, I think it was on TikTok, on Brandon's channel, he actually did like a little behind the scenes and talked about how he's wanted to do it for months, do this particular video. And he was like, I love that scene in Captain America, in Avengers. And so it was his idea to do it. And so he had, I think the videographer's
It's been
name
a
is
while
Trevor,
since
maybe?
I saw the Avengers, so I
Yeah,
completely
same.
missed that. I need to go back and watch that now.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I thought when I was pointing it out, like, oh yeah, that's probably kind of like
The
that. And then I
inspiration.
saw, oh no, it's exactly like that. No, the other thing that I just loved about that scene, and it's so selfish, was as soon as I saw it, I'm like, hey, we've been in that shot.
Yes, we've been there.
That was us. We did that. And by did that, I mean, we were inside.
We were in that space at one point in time.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but
cool.
It was fun.
So let's move on from there into Sanderson news.
Mhm.
First thing I've got to mention is Brandon and Dan did a Muppet fan casting episode in their most recent episode of, I think it was the most recent episode, it might be the one before, of Intentionally Blank. That is definitely worth going.
I think there might be one more since then.
Yeah, I think it was I think we got one last week, so it was just before that.
Yeah.
They got a little goofy, got a little bit irreverent. They had fun.
Mhm.
And they basically started fan casting all sorts of different classic works of literature, and there were some interesting choices.
They're pretty
I'll just leave it at that. Definitely go check it out. It's on you can get it on their podcast, or you can get it on Brandon's YouTube channel. So
yeah.
So now for Sanderson news, unfortunately, the print copies of Tress are still not available, which means they have started to ship. They made an executive decision to start shipping the February boxes,
Mm-hmm.
which mine's arrived. And I've already opened it up. There's some cool stuff in here. There's a few really little things that are just sort of fun, and there's others that are pretty cool. But I figured I'd show what I've got in here. So Jordan, can you?
Yeah, I can make you big.
Awesome. I want to be big. So first off, the box is great. It has a couple of sayings on it. One of them is "err on the side of awesome." Great line.
Yep.
The other one is "creating our worlds to inspire yours." And then inside there's a quote from Hoyt. And sorry, if you don't want to know what's inside the box, just jump ahead a few minutes and we'll be done. So inside there's a thing that says, "The purpose of a storyteller is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think upon." That's wit, which is apropos because February's box was themed on Hoyt. I love a lot of people have been chiming in. It's like, well, yeah, Hoyt wants to go first. He's like, no, me first. So he obviously slowed down production of the books.
Yeah, that's how he does things.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
He's a fly in the ointment.
So just, looking at a few of the cool things. First, we got a shirt.
Hoyt.
It says Hoyt for president.
Nice.
Which I think that's almost an irresponsible choice because I don't trust Hoyt as president.
He's told us not to trust him. He's told us he'll let the world burn if it helps him accomplish his goals.
There's a mouse pad with some wonderful art. You'll recognize that picture of Hoyt from the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
There is a set.
Mousepad is looking pretty ratty nowadays. This could be timely.
There is a set of sticky notes that say there are still stories to tell. We got a nice little pin of
I'm sorry,
wit.
there's still stories to tell. Sounds like Hoyt's trying to come up with a legally distinct way of saying there's always another secret.
Which actually I kind of want to go into that when we're talking about the book in a second.
Yeah.
We also got a nice little pin.
It's like a
Of
wit,
wit?
one more. Yeah.
It's just one of a collector's pin. And 100 and some odd seals, like stickers.
Hmm.
It says contains 100% pure nonsense.
That makes, yeah.
And
I guess we can put those on the Colas Head Munching Day cards next year. Or this year.
that could work. We'll have plenty of them because Jordan, I think you're getting these
Yes.
too. So that's what's in this month's box, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what else we got coming. Because that's the first one, and we've still got 11 months of this to go because the year of Sanderson is, well, a year.
Yep.
I can math.
Yep.
Mathing is important.
So the January boxes will start shipping out as soon as they become available. And apparently one of the things that stopped it is putting the foil on the covers because these are fancy books. Has taken a little bit longer than expected. That, and they, I think they sextupled the order. Like originally they were ordering
Like 100,000 or 150, and then they like jumped it like to 6.
to 600,000.
Yeah.
So
It's a bit of a jump.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it's one of the things Brandon talked about with by doing this, he could do things he wouldn't be allowed to do with the normal printing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the book, and it's jumping ahead a bit, but like the different fonts throughout the book is something that
You mean the colors?
Colors and fonts in the book itself, because like it's different fonts for when oh my goodness, I'm blanking. The guy with the tablet.
Fort.
That's it. I couldn't remember his name all of a sudden. Yeah, his has different
bold.
fonts. Yeah,
that's true. It's bold.
It's just something that I'm like, oh, we haven't seen this before. But Brandon's always talked about how he feels he can do different things.
Well, the thing that I thought was
he gets pushback on, but now there's no one to push back.
The thing that I thought was really cool is in the ebook, at least, and I'm fairly certain in the fancy version edition, the color changes as they move from the verdant sea to the crimson sea to the midnight sea.
Oh, I missed that. I missed that, but no, that's like a good point.
There's highlight text that changes.
Yeah, now that you say that, I recognize it. Hey, that's good.
So, let's see. So, for those who are still waiting, the ebooks and audiobooks are now available for everyone to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for both backers and non-backers. So if you're looking to read this, it's available. The print copies, of course, will arrive first to the backers, and then he said that there were going to be pre-orders available on his website. I couldn't find it anywhere on his site. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if that means they're sold out or if I just was looking in the wrong place. But he said that there was going to be a pre-order for the fancy editions, like, because they have extra fancy editions.
Mm-hmm.
But so I don't know about that. But in 3 months, that's when you'll be able to buy the normal edition of the book.
Yep.
So he does have he got in another 30,000 words on Stormlight 5.
Mm-hmm.
What does that put him at?
So it puts him at 120,000.
Okay.
Which is, he says, approximately 27%. That is based on a 400,000 word book, which he said it's actually going to be longer than that because he still has a few flashbacks that he hasn't even written yet, and that's kind of what he was going through first, is getting out the flashbacks. He's also going to be doing a book club. So how do you think that's going to work?
I don't know.
It's going to be
knowing him, he'll say it'll only be like 5 long, whatever 5 unit is. It'll somehow balloon to double the size, and everyone will love him for it.
Mm-hmm. What were you saying, Amy?
I'm just wondering how many people are not going to be caught up or ahead. I mean, aside from people who haven't had access to it until like the 10th that it got released.
If they're doing it like a book club, though, I'm thinking they might do like X number of chapters.
Yeah, like do you read part 1 or part 2 because there's like 6 parts. It's 6
That's sort
parts.
of what I'm guessing.
Mm.
But he said it will be on his YouTube channel, so who knows how
Yeah,
that'll
so
go.
I'm not sure. I've only done in-person book clubs, so I haven't done an online one.
Well,
I've never done
especially
a book club of any kind.
well, especially when he's streaming, and there's going to be thousands of people watching this, so
Oh yeah,
it can't just be a matter of somebody chiming in. I have this idea, it's obviously going
good
to work
luck
different
getting your
from
words out. Yeah,
from your standard book club. But once he gets this sequence done, he is going to be pausing to do revisions on Defiant. He said he's got a lore video coming up sometime this month where he's going to discuss inspirations for the lore building, the world building, and a lot of the stuff behind that. Jordan, I think that's going to be one that you'll be interested in. Just based on conversations we've had about this book specifically.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the main things. So let's dive into Tress.
Oh, I was gonna bring my cup down, and I
Amy, you're vibrating. What do you got?
So I just get excited because it's all the fun cup things, and I didn't think I was that into cups, but Tress is just so adorable with the cups. And I know it's not the biggest thing, and whatever, but I also got to do a TikTok video where like we just did like this chain of people pulling a cup out and showing it off for Tress, or for the Tress book anyway. And so it was just cute.
It's a very cute little quirk, which is something that Brandon's good at coming up with.
It's kind of funny. Josh is still not done with Tress right now, and he got to the part with the butterfly cup, and he's like, "I feel like this is significant somehow." And I'm like, he's like, "Is this going to be like, how would this tie into the Cosmere?" And I'm like, it's a Tress thing. It's significant to Tress. Don't overthink it too much.
No, just let him try and come up with cup-based magic.
No, it's terrible. Like he was trying to figure out what Ulam is, and I'm sitting here going,
"Oh gosh,
do you want
I
me
figured
to?"
him out immediately.
I'm like, "Do you want me to?" Like he suspects, and he's right, but he keeps doubting himself, and I'm like, "Do you want me to tell you or no?" And he's like, "No," and I'm like, "Okay, then I'm just gonna keep giving you half answers because I can't just confirm or not confirm." So
biggest prediction miss I've ever had. I didn't pick up. Now, part of it, I think it's because I was doing audio and I was on the drive. What?
Ulam is the mist you mean?
Oh no, Charlie.
Oh, okay. Oh, I completely missed that.
Yeah,
did you?
That did not. I didn't pick it up.
I saw a lot of people who put it together. Huck is close to Chuck, and
like I was like, no, I was way too focused on plot. This is what usually happens to me: is I'm so focused on plot that I don't pick up on these things that are like, look, here's a sprinkle. Look, here's a sprinkle. Look, here's a dollop. Just like, and I don't pick up on them because I'm just like, let's go. We're doing the thing. So, but I think I picked up on more little things here and there. So that was fun this time around.
No, this was a weird reading experience for me just because this is the first time I've ever done it as a road trip.
Oh, yeah. Just a marathon.
Yeah. I mean, the closest I ever got was it was during Oathbringer, where I just needed to get out of the house because I was listening too much, and I drove to Scipio, Utah. Not because I knew Scipio was where I was going. I just needed to drive. And I said I'd know when I was done, and I ended up in Scipio. And I'm like, okay, now it's time to turn around.
Long story.
Very long story. But it was very weird just doing a whole book over a road trip. I don't know. Never, with it being new, I guess. I've re-listened to stuff, but maybe it made me feel like I was kind of a bit on an adventure with Tress. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I could see that being cute.
Okay, so before we dive in too deep, let's just sort of give our general overall opinions of the book. Like, what did y'all think? Did you enjoy it? Did you love it? Did you hate it?
I loved it. It was cozy. I totally got the Princess Bride vibe. I was so proud of myself for guessing some things, like with how the dragon thing worked out. I wasn't 100%, but I was like, oh, but she's gonna flip it around on her, and I was glad I figured that out. But I didn't know exactly how it was gonna work, and just love it. And Huck was adorable.
Cozy is the perfect word for it.
Cozy
I couldn't.
I can thank you can thank Book Talk for that, because they kept being like, "Oh, it's such a cozy read," and I'm like, "That's the word right there." So
Yeah, it was I of the 4 secret projects, I made no bones about, this was the one I was least interested in, just
Mhm.
based on the sales pitch of it. But
Mhm.
I think part of it, having it in Hoyd's storytelling voice the entire time, helped, because I tend to like Hoyd telling stories. And I think all the little lore nuggets that were just strewn about kept me
Mhm.
just constantly going, "Well, what? Huh?" And as much as I'm not into the fairy tale genre too much, but just the stuff that was going around and all the interesting characters he put it in. And I liked this, I like this protagonist. Tress
Mhm.
does a good job of, and I think he did a good job of hinting at it early on, where we had the one part that was not from sort of a Tress centric point of view, which is when her father went to the bar
Mhm.
and
for all the
Oh,
favors.
yes.
yeah, for favor. And I can't remember the exact line, but it was something to the effect of, he's poor. He's not
He wasn't rich
or
in
he's
coin, but he
destitute.
was
He's
rich.
not poor.
Right.
Oh, and like I remember there was like, he's not rich in coin or money or something like that, but he's rich in favors or friends,
Yeah.
something to that
Mhm.
effect. And I
But
was
you
like,
see
oh.
how he did that, and
Mhm.
you then see Tress kind of do the exact same thing throughout the book, where people sort of gravitate towards her just through her kindness.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, oh, like father, like daughter, like you can see
Mhm.
where she picked this up.
Oh yeah.
So
Like it was
yeah.
I thought it was a really cool way to sort of foreshadow it in something that I wouldn't have thought of as a skill.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So my view, I wouldn't call it a hot take. I would call it a warm take.
Mm.
So I loved the story. I loved the characters. And I loved most of the storytelling. There were several times where I felt like I was kind of knocked out of the story. Part of it was just okay, and I think I figured out what my issue is,
Hmm.
because a few years ago, Brandon's editor Moshe retired, and so he's been working with a different editor since then. I think the
Mhm.
first book that this editor worked on was Rhythm of War. And I think that Brandon put in, like, there are times where Brandon goes more Brandon. If sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to word this.
More
There,
Alcatraz type Brandon.
more Alcatraz type Brandon, sillier Brandon, goofier Brandon. But okay, the example that keeps jumping out to me the most is there are certain phrases and words that Brandon will use that Moshe would always push back on him on. The biggest example of it that actually he pushed through in spite of Moshe, and I'm fine with it, is homicidal hat trick in the third Mistborn book.
Yeah, and now he kind of regrets it, to which I'm like, no, I agree.
Yeah,
Keep it.
I'm actually fine with that one, but that was the one that Moshe kept pushing and pushing and pushing back on.
Hmm.
I feel like Moshe was an excellent temper for Brandon, and I'm noticing the lack of that, I think. I don't, like I said, I don't hate the book. I really do enjoy the book. The story is phenomenal. And there were several times where Brandon put in a twist that was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. The dragon is one, I figured it out halfway up the page before Tress did. And I think that's exactly where I was supposed to figure it out. But there were little things like, for example, using the word bad. Yes, I know I'm not swearing. It's a family-friendly podcast, whatever. But and other people will say this nothing. But anyway, not the point. It took me out of the story immediately, not because I was offended by the word, but because it didn't fit in the setting.
I don't even remember that word being in there, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there.
It was used once, and I'm trying to remember where it was, but I can't even remember where it was. But it just I remember it stood out to me, and I was just like, "What?" And I don't know. So but I did like I said, I do really enjoy the book. I'm glad he wrote it. I'm glad, like you said, Jordan, it's meaty. He put in a lot of good little tidbits about the Cosmere, almost more than I would normally want. But it's the year of Sanderson. Things are,
And it's the fact that it's Hoyt doing the narrating kind of makes it so that it
exactly.
makes it's more fitting that he's dropping in stuff that's Cosmere things compared to someone who would only be on Tress's world, which I already forgot the name of the world. Lumar. Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, like if it was Lumarian, if that's how you say it, saying it, then it'd be really kind of weird. You'd be like, okay, you're a world hopper Lumarian who would be dropping all these references to Sazed and Kandra and all, and all these other things like that, compared to if it's Hoyt doing it, Hoyt's aware of all the things. So,
or even if it's a non, if it's just third person limited, because this is.
It's sort of
it's it's third person, but it's also first person.
Yeah.
It's first person secondary character.
Yeah. I can see that.
So
there were even some little tidbits that weren't from Hoyt that were Cosmere stuff. Like they talked about the island of the Iriali people.
Mm-hmm.
Which you're like, wait a minute.
Well, yeah, I mean, in that one, it makes sense that they would know about it because they had been there, and so
yes,
yeah. But then there was also the they made a reference to death with Spike in his eyes. You're like, wait, what?
I know. I was like, which I
have the ebook, and so I started going through, and every time I came across a Cosmere reference, I'd highlight it.
I should have. I didn't.
Like I did blue highlighting for just fun stuff, and then I did pink highlighting for all the Cosmere stuff. And
like that one, like I remember some people, I don't remember who it was questioning, is like, was it Hoyt saying that, or was it Tress? And I'm like, I'm gonna root for it's Tress, and I don't know how she got that information that's death, but I like it.
It's clearly lore somewhere in their world, which I have questions how that lore is spreading. But
I mean, if it's that far out, because we have Nalthian circuits, then who knows what lore has spread up,
and rocket ships and
yeah. Like I felt silly that I didn't pick up that even when they distinctly said, "Oh, this is Nalthian tech," I didn't stick. So I was like, "Well, how do we remember that?" And then Josh is like, "It's right here," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that would be very clear. It is Nalthian tech because it says it is Nalthian tech right there."
Thing A is thing A.
There was one line that Hoyt put into the narration that, like, because it's always interesting to try and place the stories in the timeline. This is interesting because it's coming from Hoyt's perspective, and so it's like, okay, where is Hoyt in the timeline right now, and where is this story in the timeline? Because there's a line he says, "Yes, like the speaking minds inhabiting the ships you've seen landing on your planet,"
which makes you think Six of the Dusk.
Makes me think Six of the Dusk.
Yeah,
but who knows if that's,
because we don't know if there's other planets that this has happened to.
Based on the way it seems, like in Six of the Dusk, it looks like that is a bigger venture than just we're colonizing this planet. Like it seems like they're going to other places and doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then there's little things like where you're just like, what does it mean? The line that I obviously focused on: a push for every pull, an old adversary of mine always says. And you're just like, says, like, present tense.
So it's just
yeah.
I love stuff like this because it lets you fully put on the aluminum foil hat and just go to town with it.
The other thing is timeline-wise, because something big happens to Hoyt in this book.
Yeah.
Something huge happens to Hoyt. Something that he's been trying to do since Elantris.
Yeah. Because that was the addition to like the 10th anniversary of Atlantis.
Yes, that was the special epilogue.
Yeah, whereas for those who haven't read it, Hoyt is trying to become an Elantrian at the end of that book. And he's talking to a Skaze who's like, yeah, I told you that wouldn't work. He's like, I had to try anyway. And at the end of this, he's now got it. And that's the broken magic that's apparently now transferable somehow.
We don't know how yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently you can be invited in, and there's all sorts of stuff. So, like, perhaps the invitation, that's what the Riot is the invitation to join said society. From whom we don't know, but
Yeah.
the Riot takes people from these areas.
Mhm.
But yeah. But
I have to wonder about
feel
its
like we're getting
choices since it picked. I feel like I have to question its choices since it picked the sorceress, and she's not a very nice lady.
Yeah.
No.
To be fair, when it chose her, it would have been very dead.
Can we talk about the sorceress?
Sure.
The fact of, first off, her name is very, very similar to a particular lighthouse keeper. Ryaino, her name is Ryaina.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
so
part
I
of the
think
Irie.
she's part of the
Right,
Irie.
but-
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
But that name, like that's it's not a title. That's a name, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that their names are so similar, like that's the thing that's interesting. Like, obviously, it's just based on the same Aeon, but Brandon
You're wondering
just
if it's
dropping
connected. Yeah.
Brandon just dropping that name in there, he's doing it to get our brains
Well,
going
and
crazy.
he has some other line about, it's like, because some people keep track of those kind of things. And I can't remember what
I felt attacked during
Yeah.
that.
Which
when he
line?
said that.
Remind me.
it was.
Uh,
I
it
can't
was
remember what the
something-
line before.
It was
like,
because it was when she was doing the sprouting, and she was using a metal disc to push and pull, and she's like, and it's like steel and
Right.
iron for the type of people who keep track of those
Track of
things.
these
And I'm just like, Hoyt is attacking me personally. Why is he attacking me personally?
And I was like, oh, the lore people are gonna like that, the ones who keep track of those things. And I'm just like, this is a great story. Let's keep going. Oh wait, that is a cool detail. But no, you think I would know my medals by now since I made that skirt, but I still can't remember. Keep them all 100%
You made the
straight.
skirt.
I made the
You
skirt.
didn't memorize
so
the
yeah.
medals.
Yeah.
No, I had little sticky notes and I put them together with my little guides that I printed out.
Well,
and
that's like
everything, 'cause
I've got the dice. I don't remember everything.
yeah.
So.
We have our computer minds because we don't have metal minds. It's fine.
But they are metal.
I guess that's true. But they're not only metal.
But there was all sorts of fun little things. But so one of the things that, just going back more to the beginning, the island is interesting.
Which one?
Just the way that he lets us. He's always very good at letting us know immediately what's different about this world compared to ours. Like, right off the bat in Elantris, he gets to, he's been damned. And so we know that there's something going on there, right? At the start of Mistborn, ash fell from the sky. These quick things. Here he does a good job of showing how salty everything is.
Oh my goodness. Ugh.
Because and by necessity. Because when
Keeps you
things,
safe.
it's like gremlins out there. When things get wet, bad things happen.
Well, it's also
Unless you're
amusing
friendly.
because it's a seafaring adventure. And you think about the salty sea air and all that stuff. It's kind of the opposite. It's the salty
salty
shore, and that they keep salt around to keep them safe. But
I was gonna say salty tea air, but it's fine.
salty air. Wow.
Tress
See,
likes
I'm
her
trying-
tea like she
And
likes her
there is our
pirate,
episode
salty.
title: the salty air.
Yay! I was trying for a pun.
I felt my line
gosh.
was good.
I didn't hear your line.
Oh,
Sorry, say it
I
again.
said and it's like Tress likes this like her tea like she likes her pirates, salty.
Nah, I didn't get some. But yeah, it's
It is weird.
it's
Now
such
that
an
I think about it, the
interesting-
only thing that wasn't salty were the pirates.
They just had aluminum.
Well, because Fort didn't know how to
And
season food, and
silver, yeah.
he made it taste
Yeah.
like something that was scraped off the bottom of a shoe.
Yeah, that was a really funny moment. I loved that, where she finds out that no, this is the best he can do, and she's like, "Oh, you poor man." That
And I
everyone
felt
has been
attacked
eating this.
again for some reason.
I thought that was a really interesting moment because, like, there were a lot of messages Brandon puts into his books and stuff. This one I felt was a very subtle but cool one. Is your perspective can be wrong, and when you figure, when your perspective shifts, suddenly things that made absolutely no sense or seemed personal aren't.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's something that seemed like a negative, or it's like people aren't always out to get you.
Mhm.
And like in Tress's case, they actually weren't being cruel to her. They just gave her what they had.
They were being as nice as they possibly could to her. I mean, their food was awful, and then yeah, I loved when they ended up fighting about the verdict. But anyway,
it was so cool.
Yep.
I do love the way you buy loyalty from people is by giving them edible food.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I think that works for women too. You feed the woman.
It works for everyone.
Like it. It works for everybody. Yeah, I mean, I give people food and they are always very nice about it, because who are you to complain about? You gave me something tasty. You thought it, because it's not just that you gave me something tasty, but it's you thought of me, you made the effort, and I get the tasty thing. So,
like
it's a tasty thing.
It's the opposite of being hangry.
Oh, I know. All those Snickers commercials. Yep.
The opposite of that is Crow, who is just the worst, and it's stated so in the.
I think Brandon was working extra hard to make us just despise this character, so that when she met her eventual fate, we'd be like, yeah, she deserves it. Yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine.
That's what she would have needed to get anyway, because apparently, if I'm taking the dragon at their word, that's actually how it works. But her boon would only have worked for a year or two, and then she would have had to go right back, or she would have died again. So, yeah.
Well, the dragon even said, "We'll let her believe that at least." So,
like, we'll let her think that. Yeah, it's fine.
Oh gosh,
I love the dragon.
Worst. Well, and then even Laggard, who he was just. Laggard is like Gaz 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's just this horrible person who you treat him nice, and suddenly he's just like, oh, well, I okay, but yeah, you're cool. Let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't grow up in his horrible circumstances, but I could see how it would be realistic that if all you've known is mean people and everybody's out to get you, then you're going to assume that that's how everybody else functions.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, especially someone who's been living a pirate life, that's very dog eat dog world.
And this is optimist Brandon coming in. Brandon has said for years he is a chronic optimist.
Yeah.
And this, this is sort of a view of that, because he sees these people and he's like, no, things actually are good. I'm not being a jerk. I don't want anything from you. Just here.
I'm just being kind. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sort of like what went on with, we talked about it in the State of the Sanderson, what went on with Speechify. He's like, yes, I could take 100%, but I want you to give me the same deal you give everybody else. So,
he's, his optimism shows through here, because she literally saves the world by, what I love, she saves the world by being a very kind, optimistic person, but learning not to be a pushover.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's kind of her arc, is actual growth and becoming a different person.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a moment where I was about to get angry and just say, okay, I hate this book. And that was the moment when she was walking away and she was just like, this isn't what I want anymore. When she was walking away with the fake Charlie.
Yeah, the fake Charlie.
And I was just like, Brandon, I feel like you've broken a promise here. And, I was like, I knew that there's something did feel off about Charlie, but it was her internal monologue that was bothering me. But then when Charlie turned out to be Huck, it's just like, okay.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. They grew, because then it's not she grew and he stayed behind. It's they grew together. And I was like, okay, cool. This is a message I'm fine with. This is rather than just, nope, I got here and I don't like him anymore. The end, and it's just like, you gave us a promise of romance at the beginning of this. And if she just sort of said, nope, I'm done with Charlie, forget it. It was just like,
or the other alternative would have been she would have stayed with fake Charlie and just been miserable and been trying to be happy, pretending to be happy, but is actually like, but something's not right, you know? So that's
no, I didn't think she was going to go. And I didn't think she was going to go with fake Charlie. but it was just
but like had that been the end of the film,
Man.
it would have been not very satisfying because
Yeah.
it would have been very he said to Blave. But no, because it is a love story, and it is schmaltzy as it is. It's like, no, this is what it is. Like,
and I think
getting
that's
mad at a Disney princess story. It's like, and they lived happily ever after. Oh, how trite! It's like you knew what this story was when you put in the VHS.
And
what did you want?
That's the thing. I think what I was worried about, because a lot of people have done this lately, and it's frustrating in some ways. That's a whole other story. But it felt like, is this Brandon trying to subvert expectations? Because subverting expectations for the sake of subverting expectations is frustrating to me.
Yeah.
But instead, Brandon pulled what he has pushed for years, which was the surprising but inevitable. Which isn't necessarily subverting expectations. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's
surprising but inevitable. Like that is what
it's a different angle of that. And I think so I think that's where I was worried. I was like, Brandon, don't you do this. Don't you do this. Don't just try and subvert my expectations for the heck of it. But he didn't. We got the payoff I was hoping for. So, but yeah.
How about Crow's shooting ability though?
She's good.
Yeah, Crow's
I like it. There's a certain thing you can do in the first person perspective you can't do in the third person. Because if a third person said what Hoyt said, where, yeah, no, she's one of the best shots I have ever seen. Like that doesn't work in the third person, but in the first person, coming from Hoyt, who has lived, at this point hundreds of lifetimes, like that means something.
Yeah,
because it means that she's either as good as or better than Wax, and he's pretty dang good.
It sounds to me like she has worse guns than Wax.
Oh yeah, the tech would not have been as good because if they're doing,
she's working with ball and powder.
Yeah,
or
you get one shot,
different kind of powder, but
yeah.
But yeah.
But no, I also love the way they describe sprouters in this book. They're like, sprouters are always a little off. It reminds me of the way people describe physicists? Detonation technicians.
Oh, okay.
No, not physicists. No, we're perfectly normal people. But
for our listeners who are unaware, Jordan is a physicist.
Yeah, that's never come up before. But no, it makes sense because this is their version of people who like to play with bombs.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, no, we don't want the comfy bedroom that has all the bombs in it.
Yeah,
because that's what the Aethers are,
and there's a lot of protection from the bombs outside.
Yeah. Which, once again, silver, that's interesting. But, before diving into the, getting funky with the mechanics of it, I like seeing Tress grow through learning. Like, she's learning to confront danger throughout the book because she's always been this nice girl who does nice things for people and, tries to get by in life that way. But at a certain point, you got to start taking risks. And so she does. And it's kind of awesome.
I do like there was a line from Hoyt, and it's Tress, like he's commenting on her and that she actually does something that like most people don't do. And she actually stops and reconsiders if her actions are going to be the wisest choice. And I can't remember what the decision was, but it was her going, wait, did I analyze this situation correctly or not? And I just liked that. There was like, oh yeah, there are a lot of stories where people are just like, well, obviously it's this way, and just charge off, and they've gotten it completely wrong. Whereas Tress takes that time, and which ties in with the lesson you were talking about earlier, Bill, about how the lesson that Sanderson was trying to get across. Perspectives, yeah.
Well, there's a I can't remember what it's called, but it's one of the most popular like psychological tests where they like try and do your personality, and one of the things is conscientiousness, and this is people who are very aware of their surroundings and other people and stuff like that. And Tress is clearly very high on conscientiousness and considers other people, A lot of times those people are always the background characters, because you need people who are highly disagreeable, because they're the ones who actually go out and do things in, in a lot of society, because in order to take risks, you kind of got to step on some people's toes a lot of times. I love Brandon, I mean, Kelsey and Hoyt being people who are highly not conscientious people. They're trying to get things done, and it's destination before journey a lot of the time, but not so with her. She's very much trying to reconsider everyone around her, and she plays that to her own strengths, and it's an awesome thing to see, because it's a very different heroic type than we normally get to see in a story.
Sorry, I'm looking for a specific line. So
no,
that's
I'm
why
just
went
like,
by it.
yeah, I like Tress. She's awesome. Like, I just like her, and I totally want to cosplay as her now, because she's got a really easy outfit too, which is nice.
Well, your hair's not that different. Okay, I love the
Well-
comment of everyone always compares my hair to food.
I know. I mean, you think about it, and like, it's kind of weird for women to sit there and be like, so everything about my body or about my hair or whatever is being compared to food. It's like that's a little demeaning, kind of, like I have chestnut eyes and
I think of it
cornfield
less as
hair
less demeaning. It more just shows we can't come up with a better name for a color, so we just name it like orange.
Name a
Why is
food.
orange called orange? Because that's that's orange.
orange. Oh, it's orange. Like, orange is a weird thing, but I mean, other colors, you're like, you could say a different kind of brown or a different kind of yellow or whatever. Not
We only think of food. That's
yeah.
what we want. I mean, she's not helping by giving everyone so much delicious food.
Yeah, I mean, though having the pigeon pies and stuff makes me kind of a little bit, but I mean,
Look, when you're living on a salt lick that's disguised as a rock.
Yeah.
Oh,
Though I have to wonder what the birds are eating. Where are the fish?
okay.
Sorry,
Sorry.
no fish. That's a good point. I didn't think about what the birds are eating.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, continue, Bill.
Sorry. So back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. It was talking about Hoyt. You were talking about how Hoyt and Kelsey are not conscientious people, and there's a line in here where Hoyt chimes in. He says,
"Let's be real, though."
Fair enough. He says, she didn't realize that my true advantage has never been my uncommon intellect. It's been my ability to find the right people and stick close to them. And that's how Hoyt survives. He isn't conscientious. He dives in, he gets things done, but he has people to kind of pick up the pieces behind him. Kelsey does the exact same thing.
Yeah,
that's what the Ghost Bloods are.
It's why I love him and Hoyt being at odds. Is because the real reason they're at odds is because they see each other's failings, I think, in the other one.
They see their own failings in each other. Yeah.
And they deserve each other. And I still want them to have that horrible marriage.
Round two.
The horrible curse to be together.
Yeah. To me, that's my dream book. Hoyt and Kelsey are having to work together in a 1980s buddy cop style.
Oh, man.
Give me Lethal Weapon, but Kelsey or Hoyt.
And that's when you end up with the back-to-back fight. And afterwards, they're the closest of friends. It's going to happen. We're totally going to have that.
Yeah. It'd be fun.
Speaking of Hoyt, there's another line that I just absolutely loved. Let's see. It's the Sorceress. No, it's not. It's the dragon that she's talking to.
Okay. Is it Sissis or something like that?
Zaisis is how they say it in the audiobook.
Okay, it's
Xisis. Because I'm like, if it's an X, I'm so lost as how you're supposed to say that. Yeah. So Zaisis. Okay.
But she asks if he can remove the sorceress's curse, and she says, "No, nor will I do anything to help your quest. There is precisely one being I fear on this planet, and no, your friend Safandrius doesn't count." And then just beneath that, rude. It's just like, okay, that is the Hoyt that I want telling the story, because that absolutely fits.
Yes, it's sassy.
The other thing I found interesting about that line is later on when we get to the confrontation with the sorceress. He gives the whole speech about how beings who who live very long don't survive very long if they constantly take 4 and 5 chances over and over again, because eventually you lose that. One, I play XCOM, so that hits me right where I live, because so many times soldiers die because they miss 80% shots, and you're just like, it was an 80% shot.
Come on.
And so, but you learn very quickly you can't survive on 80% shots. You got to move it even more in that direction. But what's interesting is that is something that I've seen here and there, but I don't think it's done too well. Is if you're a being who is immortal but not indestructible, you would become extremely risk averse.
Oh yeah,
because you can always slow incrementally gain whatever you want, because time is by definition on your side. And so why take a huge risk when you can just sit here? It's like, okay, well, I could go for this 40% gain, or I could just say, or I'll just do a 1% gain over the course of a century, and I'm going to have so much.
Yeah.
And they play it well, but it's Tress sort of acting on instinct, like, no, you're leaving. And he's like, do something. Are you ordering me? Yeah, you're part of my crew still, right?
It's like you're technically part of the crew, so I need you to do this, please.
I'm imagining her like doing like the the baby, just the fluttering eyes and the pouty lips. Pretty please.
Oh
man.
No, I don't see Tress quite going to that. I could see her being like, come on.
I really did like Tress's journey as a character. I thought her growth was great. And
it's one of the more complete character arcs.
Well, and the thing is, it feels like a story that was written for his wife, for Emily. It's like based on just the little tidbits that I've heard and the brief conversation that we had at Dragonsteel. When I say brief, I'm talking brief. But just this is the kind of thing that I'm like, I think this would absolutely appeal to her from him. It seems like it fits. So I absolutely see it as this is something he wrote for her.
And it absolutely fixes the problem that she mentioned with Princess Bride, is that Buttercup just kind of lets things happen. She was a lump. She's very passive.
That's the biggest downfall, is the person that the book is named after doesn't do anything.
Yeah, not since Princess Zelda.
She pokes a rat with a stick, but she doesn't.
She's the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and look, there's a lot of that in early storytelling where we haven't properly figured out, hey, could we get this character motivation thing to go, 2 different ways instead of just the one way?
Give the woman something to do other than just be a prize.
Well, especially in like early stories where they're literally kidnapped and then they're just off screen the rest of the film, because there's nothing interesting in just being a captive. It's like, well, still in prison.
Well, and that's the thing I really, really like that Brandon did, is while he made it so that Tress didn't do that, he didn't just do that by pushing the inactive role onto Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie was.
He didn't just flip the roles and have Charlie be the one sitting in the tower. No, Charlie actually was there the whole time, and they were working together. I loved that.
Yeah. Now that I think back on it more, because I totally didn't pick up that Charlie was who he was.
Oh, I didn't either. But looking back on it, I was just like, oh, cool. Brandon didn't fall into this trap either. That's very cool.
Well, and speaking of what you were talking about earlier, Amy, where it's the issue of there's you're trying to it was Bill doing the it changes your perspective, changes how you look at things. Once you understand that, Huck is Charlie, you see his sabotage and you see it in a very different light, because it does feel very mean. But once you know his backstory, where the whole point was to, he was told, bring her here. And so he's like, well, that's the one thing I can't do.
Yeah.
Because the sorceress is evil and unstoppable. So
wait, wasn't it home? Bring her home?
No, because originally
that was the new one. That's what
Hoyt changed it to, so it could undo the curse.
Okay, that's right.
So she could be versed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so and then he's in the nude because he forgets that humans wear clothes.
Humans
But,
wear clothes, yeah.
He comes out
But it's
wearing
like, that's a
nothing
little
but a
more than
tiny
sexy
pirate.
safety.
A little tiny, yeah. Yeah, oh boy, yeah.
But the thing that was really cool about that reveal, though, specifically the reveal on his motivations, was it was done in a step-by-step process.
Yeah.
Because first we find out that he's a traitor, then we find out that he's trying to prevent her to go, then we find out that he's Charlie, then we find out that he's Charlie, and this is why he was trying to. It wasn't just a boom, here's everything.
Yeah.
It was like it was told in stages, but they all made sense.
And you get to see Tress working through her complications and everything else and her feelings about, oh, why would he backstab me like that? And then she feels bad about putting him in the cage, even though it makes sense to put him in the cage, and then has to take him out of the cage. Anyway, it's just the journey of it.
Well, and it also because he talks about how condescending it is. I had to do it to protect you. It's like because I don't trust you, and
for your own good.
Yeah, but once you find out what he knows and what the position he's been in, it changes it to this isn't because he thinks she's incapable, or it's more he thinks these odds are
impossible,
that no one is capable.
Yeah,
it's not. This isn't because he thinks less of you. It's just he thinks this is like it's like trying to get in a fist fight with a mountain. That's his perspective on things, and he's like, I'd much rather stay a rat the rest of my life than see harm come to her that came to me. And
which
it's like,
is just adorable.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, there were so many times I listened to this book, like, I bet Amy's squeeing right now.
Well,
I know there were sometimes like Crow be like, oh my
goodness. But yeah, the whole for your own good. And well, the other thing is that he knows that if she goes and gets cursed, he'll be saved, and that's something he can't live with.
Oh yeah,
that's show me what a complete jerk Raiana is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why does she want to cause so much misery? Like, what happened to you?
Oh yeah.
I think she's miserable about something, and she just wants to take it out on everybody else because she's probably chased away any and all friends she had at one point, or they all died, and so now she's bitter and just.
Well, the other thing is she's pulling some of the same stuff that Hoyt's been doing. You know, she's collecting different magic systems because she's an Elantri and she's used Awakening.
Yeah. Which was scary to see together. I was like, oh, that's a scary combo.
Yeah.
She's got robots.
Man.
So she's another world hopper we'll need to keep an eye out. She's got a rocket.
Yeah.
That is also a tower.
That Brandon made a phallic joke about.
Oh, goodness.
Did, at least.
Who did? Oh,
Hoyt did. He was talking about the shape of it.
I apparently missed that joke, and that's
he was very, very tangentially making the joke, but it was definitely there.
Okay.
But yeah, so we've got another world hopper to keep an eye out for. Speaking of world hoppers and just Hoyt and all the big stuff, that's another line that another little tidbit that Brandon dropped, which he says, for your own good, you see. Ah, those words. I've heard those words. I've said those words. The words that proclaim in bald-faced arrogance, I don't trust you to make your own decisions. The words we pretend will soften the blow, yet instead layer condescension on top of already existent pain, like dirt on a corpse. Oh yes, I've said those words. I said them with 16 other people, in fact.
Yeah.
To a whole universe.
Well, was it to a whole universe, or was it to was it for ad nauseum? Like who was he saying it to?
Yeah.
He said who he said it with. He didn't say who he said it to.
I know.
Delicious. So delicious.
If any of our listeners have theories, we would love to hear them.
No, the other thing that was really cool just about just as far as trying to get her to move forward and her taking those individual steps, you know, she gets captured, near the start of the book because she's impersonating an officer. And then it turns out, oh, I took in with pirates by accident.
Whoops.
Which accidental piracy is the best kind. But I just love because he set up this fluidized sea of spores, and suddenly everything stops. And then, we made the joke, it's not Tress on the sea, but for a little bit it was Tress on the sea. When she just starts power walking across, because you don't want to go too fast, because that'll kick up spores and that could get into your eyes and stuff,
or your nose, or wherever else. And you're just like,
Accidental Piracy is the name of my homebrew version of Napster.
Nice.
Oh man!
But I just love the image of power walking across the sea. I don't know why it was hilarious to me. It's just I don't know, walk casually.
Just do it. I did love how the crew kept sitting here and going, oh, well, she's a king's mask. She's got to be a king's mask no matter how much she kept denying it. And they're like, that totally means she is one. And she's like, but I'm not.
The lack of evidence is the evidence.
But she knew that she could dispel that anytime by saying, I am a king's mask.
But then she couldn't quite bring herself to do that, though. So it still was...
She didn't want to kill their hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it was really funny all the time. She kept being like, no, but I'm
except
not.
that's the one thing that you can't kill, right?
No.
I am hope.
Maybe she does have some stuff in common with Kelsey.
Also,
I do love, but it's just one of those cool things that it's a fun little story beat of everyone is convinced that she must be this awesome assassin, because no one could accidentally do everything she's just done. And meanwhile, she's over here. I'm trying to tell you, that's exactly what's happened. I have accidentally all the way up here.
I know that it's the 1% chance, but it's what happened the whole way.
She's sitting here putting out fires. She's like, no, seriously, this is a problem. It's just like, oh, she's good.
Well, even Crow was kind of like that. Crow was just like, what is she up to?
She's gotta have it.
It's because nobody could actually be that bad.
Well, it's like the perfect, ploy for my plan couldn't possibly have just fallen into my lap.
Yeah.
But Crow, because she's more genre savvy than everyone else, realizes, oh wait, no, that's exactly what's happened.
Yep.
It's just kind of weird. She just offered herself on this platter for me.
Just right there.
Which, by the way, the dragon's apparently like a 10th level heightening awakener. Because he was able to awaken the cloth without a command at all.
Oh, that's where people are getting that from, yeah. To tie her up.
Oh, man.
How to do like Tress's
I want to know
advice
how
if she's
he's
like,
doing that.
That's crazy.
Well, the way he's got everything set up to where, he's under the sea, it reminds me a lot of what Shalon does in manifesting, sort of. When she takes like a bead and gets it to manifest a space in the cognitive realm, but they're in the physical realm. So I don't know how he's doing this.
It might just be his nature as a dragon.
Yeah, you always have dragon as an answer because, dragon.
But apparently this dragon has 6 legs, so it really is closer to a bug.
Is it? Wait, is it 6 legs or 6 limbs?
So I wasn't sure. I wondered about that. It said 6 limbs, but is that 4 legs and 2 wings?
I thought it was 4 legs and 2 wings.
So I wasn't sure. And it was never really made clear.
Do you consider wings separate limbs?
Yes.
If it's on the back, you consider that a limb?
It's a limb.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've never heard wings called limbs on the back.
I think I've only because it's like wyverns only have 4 and dragons, quote unquote, have 6 because they have the wings and the 4 legs.
Yeah. And wyverns.
So
it's like they've got
their front arms. Their arms are their wings.
Almost a flying squirrel sort of thing.
Yeah. Anyway, that's how I pictured it as having the 2 wings and the 4 legs.
Maybe this is because I don't read other fantasy. I've always thought of wings as just their own thing.
But that's the thing. They are appendages.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go look at the
quite
image
literally.
again. Well, speaking of the images, they were pretty gorgeous.
Yeah.
Except for the last
lions.
one because of what Hoyt is wearing.
What? Oh, the socks and all that.
Yeah. Howard Lyons he nailed it.
Hoyt rocking up for a fight, dressed like a tourist at Hawaii.
It made me think of The Sword and the Stone, where Merlin shows up,
yes,
dressed in Bermuda shorts.
Yes, I had not. I haven't considered that film in a very long time, but yes.
That is a very apt comparison. Yeah. Let's see, where's
But yeah.
trying to look up. Oh, there's the dragon. Let's see.
I know
Anyway.
I know it's a small thing. I love that very much in a Tangled style. Tress's weapon becomes like that stein.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, and then
There
Charlie
are-
uses it too.
There are definite influences from Tangled in this book, I believe. I
can
think
see
there's
that.
a lot of influence in this book from Tangled, actually, which is great because it's one of my favorites. So,
So it says dragon has 6 limbs.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the part where, because I'd always considered wings something separate, but
So
Well,
I think
this may be
I wasn't sure about that myself. And
I'm gonna
again,
keep
I don't
looking.
think it's ever fully clear. Is it visible in the picture?
I will look.
It
I'm
is
flipping.
visible, but
he's
don't
got
know.
2 arms, 2 legs, and 2 wings. In the picture.
The only thing that made me question it was just the fact that we don't see all his body, so I thought it might have been longer in the back, and he had like additional legs.
It's possible.
But no,
I
if you
personally
guys
think,
say so, like you guys have more experience in fantasy.
I mean,
than me.
I don't have any authority on this subject. That's just how I interpreted it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's how I saw it in my head too, and the picture made me feel like it was 2 legs, 2 wings, 2 arms. Anyway,
he much more serpentine than I imagined it. Just listening to it, and then I saw the picture.
Yeah.
I was thinking, but most of my experience with dragons comes from World of Warcraft, and their dragons tend to be a little more meaty dragons.
Right. And this definitely has some like Chinese dragon influence to it. Like it's not a perfect, it's not an exact Chinese dragon, but it has some influence from that.
Oh, because there was like the beard thing going on.
The beard and mane.
Yeah, that I've never been as fond with like bearded dragons, but it's okay. If that's how Brandon wants to do it, then I'll go along with it.
Who knows if there's multiple kinds?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hope.
Because I think this is actually the first dragon we've seen in dragon form.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, we should probably start wrapping up, but there is one thing I did want to bring up was, did you notice that the dragon worked very, very similarly to Corvellium of Vast in the offering trades in the barter system?
That's true. Yeah.
I haven't made that connection, but yeah.
So did
Rhaina, where she'll get, she'll give a curse.
Yeah. I don't think that's...
Now hers are more curse-based, but the Zysis is just like, you give me something and I'll give you a boon.
I'll give you something, yeah. I did like that Tress got the 3 little ones instead. And so she didn't technically get herself anything. But in the end, it worked out for her. So.
But, and then the other thing that we got our very first in-universe mention of dragon steel.
I know, he's got it like on like his horns and his part of his limbs and stuff like that on the edges. Silvery. It makes me think of Mercury almost, like in how they describe it a little bit.
Like which would fit with these dragons.
Yeah. So the other I don't even know what the answer is, but do you guys know what the reptile thingy that was impersonating Charlie was? Do we know what that is?
Oh, I'd have to go back.
I just remember it was like a lizard guy, and I was like, I have no idea what that is. That's a whole new thing.
Sorry, we haven't mentioned at all that there was just a Khandra on the ship the entire time.
I know. Well, I mentioned it kind of before when I was talking about my poor husband and him talking about
I think we've got another episode's worth of conversation on this.
Yeah.
So we should probably just wrap up right now because I think we've got a lot more still we can talk about.
Awesome. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So let's start wrapping up there. To our listeners, we love hearing from you, so please keep sending in questions. You can ask us about the Cosmere. You can drop us ideas for topics that you'd like us to discuss, and we would love to hear your feedback on the show. We just like to know, how are we doing? How are you doing? We'd love to hear both from you. And any interesting theories that you've got, we'd also love to know. So send those questions in a short, concise email to cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and hopefully we'll be able to get to it and discuss it in the show. You can also write to us at the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. We do have our own personal projects that we're working on outside of this podcast. So Jordan, why don't you start us off, tell you what you've got going on and where we can find you.
You can find me at youtube.com/splicestream, where I am always streaming video game content, specifically Amiibo. A lot of Persona 5 recently, the very rare JRPG that I am loving. So if you're a JRPG fan, poke on in. We'd love to have you on the live stream.
It's one of the most J of RPGs I've ever seen.
Yes, the most. It is. It's. I think it's mostly down to how they gamify relationships and they gamify battle to more of a puzzle element.
It's a really interesting,
yeah, it's very interesting. So if you'd like to see it, come check me out, and I'd love to have you there.
Cool. Amy, how about you?
My Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay, and my TikTok is @coincidencecosplay, all one giant word. My website is www.coincidencecosplay.com, and it is still sad. So someday I will make it look pretty. So I have realized that I've been saying that I'm terrible at posting, and I'm going to try and work on actually posting things that I've been doing. And my next big so I'm going to try and put up old projects that I've done throughout the last year and a half probably. And then I have Mother Gothel on my docket, as well as fixing up my Queen Eleanor wig. And I'm going to try and start doing some other, I know there's something else I'm going to try and do, but I can't remember what it is right now. I have it on a board over there. So yeah, that's me.
Cool. As for myself, I have another podcast. We talk about board games. My friend Dylan and I chat about all sorts of games. It's called The Innkeeper's Table, and we have new episodes come out every Friday morning. And we have ended our hiatus. We are back with the new year. Our previous episode, we did our top 3 games that we're looking forward to playing in 2023. And we had some really interesting conversations about some of the games because Dylan and I were looking forward to very different games. Our next episode is actually going to be a listener question. So if you've got a board game related question for us, please send it to us over at innkeeperstablepodcast@gmail.com. We're actually, looking for more questions right now. So if you've got any burning desires to know things about board games, let us know. We'd really love to hear from you. For those of our listeners who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, but you can't become a patron just yet, we'd love it if you'd tell your friends about the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. And if you toss us a good review wherever you listen to us, we would love that as well. Also, head over to store.streamelements.com/Cosmere Studies to buy merchandise based around the podcast. Final thoughts.
I want to be a pirate, except I'd be terrible because I get seasick. So,
does that make Huck a pirate?
Oh.
Bill, you like Muppet Treasure Island. You can't get mad at this joke.
We put the rat in pirate. I know. The spore seas terrify me.
Oh.
They are utterly terrifying. Also, I could not stop thinking about if you've never heard, you have no connection to him whatsoever, but if you've ever heard of Mark Rober, he did a really cool video on fluidization, the concept that these spore seas actually work on. You should definitely go check it out.
Yeah, he does it in like a hot tub or something like that. And it's crazy watching it. You're
really
like, that's
cool.
Not right, but it's cool.
Really, really cool. Special thanks to our patron producer, Mim's Laundry Service. New special for this month only, receive 1 free Tiny Pirate hat with your first load. In addition to the live episodes of the show that stream on twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook under the profile @Cosmere Studies. They've made a showing in the last 2 books that Brandon has released, so let's dig into it. Yes, we're going to discuss more on the basics of just more on in general of Tress of the Emerald Sea, but also what are aethers? How do they work? Where do they come from? And seriously, what are aethers? Join us as we ponder these questions and more in 2 weeks on Monday, January 30th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern at www.twitch.tv/innkeeperstable. Until then, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember, there's always another secret.
Another secret.
I totally want to make a hat for me.